And we begin with a 9% approval rating. No, that's not Toronto's crack-smoking Mayor Rob Ford's approval rating. Nope, that's the United States' Congress approval rating today, according to a new Gallup poll. 9% is the lowest rating ever recorded in Gallup's 39-year history of asking Americans if they approve the way Congress is handling its job. Now, just 2 months ago, in September, it looked like Congress was making a comeback. Its approval rating was 10 points higher, at 19%. Still abysmally low, but better than 9%. And then the government shutdown happened. And Americans watched as a Congress, specifically a right-wing political faction in Congress, blew a $24 billion hole into the economy and cut GDP growth by more than 0.5%. That was the cost of the government shutdown, and the deal brokered to end it virtually guaranteed that we'll repeat this disaster again at the beginning of next year. But this is the way things have been going all year. You might remember back in April when Congress's approval rating was a slightly higher 15%, they couldn't even pass gun safety measures that had the support of more than 90% of Americans. Again, a bill that had the support of 90% of Americans couldn't pass Congress thanks to a filibuster in the Senate. And one of the reasons why that gun bill failed was that lawmakers were afraid it would lead to a national gun registry, that the government would keep track of all gun owners. And then a few months later, everyone found out that the government is sort of keeping track of all gun owners. Well, all Americans in general, when Edward Snowden began releasing documents exposing the NSA's global and domestic spying operations. And guess who was completely blindsided by the NSA's activities? Congress, an institution we're told is providing the necessary oversight. To sum up how Congress has handled these NSA revelations, here were two members of Congress on one of the chief committees in charge of oversight, the House Intel Committee, arguing over when the committee knew what about the NSA's program spying on world leaders.
I'd be interested to know, Mr. Chairman.
We would be happy to take you down to the committee and spend a couple of hours going through mounds of product that would allow a member to be as informed as a member wishes to be on sources and methods and all activities of the intelligence community under the National Intelligence Framework.
Well, I would just say, and
I just think we need to be careful about what you're talking about, but I think it's disingenuous to use the classification.
Well, and I think it would be disingenuous, Mr. Chairman, if you're suggesting we have information if we don't have it.
It's Congress's job to keep the intelligence community in check. It's utterly failed at that job. And that's not my opinion. That's coming straight from another member of Congress himself, Alan Grayson.
What we see from these congressional oversight committees regarding our so-called intelligence community is not that they're performing oversight, rather they're overlooking and systematically doing so. I think that they've become apologists for the spying industrial complex and that I have literally never seen them do anything other than rationalize these, in some cases, gross abuses and constitutional violations, particularly with regard to domestic surveillance.
The confluence of surveillance, revelations, inability to do something about gun violence, and dysfunction in the budgeting process have highlighted the inability of Congress to do really anything, which is reflected in these historically low approval ratings. Americans struggling to stay in their homes or pay their student loans or even just find a job have had to look elsewhere for help. Organizations like Occupy Debt are stepping up to address the needs of constituent Americans. And for now, Congress seems to be done legislating for the year, closing out one of the most unproductive years in the history of lawmaking. No immigration reform, no budget deal, nothing. What's worse, there's still another year left in the 113th Congress. And if things continue this way, especially with an election looming, then that 9% number today might actually look pretty good come next November.